I think about positive youth development, I really think about a philosophy, an approach to helping young people succeed. It's really a method where we think about what are the assets of youth and of children, and how are we going to grow and expand those. So it's different than an intervention model, it's different than a treatment model, but really looking at kids where they are and then where we want them to grow and setting up environments where they can do that. It's building upon their assets.
Okay, so we're looking for somebody to talk about teeth. What are you doing?
We use it as we think about our content. We use it as we think about the environment, the philosophy, the principles we use in interacting with those young people. That's really what's behind positive youth development and why it's so important for all of us in the out of school and after school times to be thinking about that, using that as a philosophy and growing our own expertise in that process. Out-of-school programs and after-school programs are a huge way young people learn. We know that expanded school days and the time away from the formal classroom has a huge impact on the work of young people, and all the research shows that those hours between 3 and 5 are some of the most important. So making sure that all of us as frontline staff, as program directors, as site directors, have the philosophy of positive youth development and instill that in the work that we do is extremely important, and probably more important than ever because we have such an influence on young people and how they spend their time. Out of school and after school work is probably some of the most engaging work that someone can have. It certainly creates a time when you can see a passion, when you can help spark interest in the lives of young people. And what we hear more often than not is the reason people that do this work, the way they do it, the way they want to do it, why they want to do it, is because they want to see those light bulbs go off. And that's really why most of us are here. It's so that we can see that spark, and we can take that spark and turn it into something that's bigger than any of us, but it's that passion in young people. That's why we're here. So any help we can give in helping staffers do that, in helping professionals do that, in helping volunteers do that, it's a great place to be, and it's a great way to see young people be engaged. As you're thinking about working with young people for the first time, there are just some basic pieces that would be really helpful. And a part of that is around child and youth growth and development. What are their physical stages like? What are the emotional stages like? So that when you go into that environment, you know a little bit about what to expect and what's normal and what might be outside of the norm, and some things that can help you better do teaching. Another piece of that is how to best interact with youth. Research has some strategies that work, so having a better understanding of those, knowing more about those is going to be helpful as you do the work. Things like cultural competency is a big piece of what we need to think about in positive youth development. Young people come to us with all different kinds of learning experiences. So how do we capitalize on those, and how do we make sure that we can best instill a growth period for them and make an environment that helps that happen. Safety and wellness is a core at what we need to think about in positive youth development. How do we make sure we're setting up the environments that allow that to happen? Other things to think about as we think about program planning, what are the things that make our program stand above the rest? How can we really help make sure that we're nurturing, that we're growing, that we're educational in the work that we do? Those are some of the basics around positive youth development. As you think about other kinds of skills that would be helpful, things around youth engagement, how do we interact in those environments? How do we give the best learning experiences? How do we build families into that work? So what kinds of take-home wraparound materials can we provide? How do we engage the rest of the family? How do we engage volunteers in the positive youth development process? How do we work with stakeholders? How do we work with businesses and industries in our community? And then also thinking about how this becomes an overall program in our communities that's not just a standalone, but really builds upon the assets of that entire community. Those are all things to think about as we think about the sorts of skills we need, and also the kinds of skills we're thinking about in these lessons and these modules that hopefully people are partaking in as they think about their expanded opportunities in being even better at positive youth development.